All right, we will get started in just a couple of seconds here. Just going to give people a couple seconds to join the room. Great. Well, welcome everyone. I am Dylan Knutson from Kale. We're happy to have you join us for this session, Building the Supply Chain Workforce Through Registered Apprenticeship Expansion. This is a roundtable discussion, so just a couple quick housekeeping tips. This is a collaborative session, so once the speaker opens things up for questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask questions, but until you're speaking, please keep your microphones muted. We also invite all attendees to turn cameras on, but don't feel like you have to. With that, I'd like to welcome Dina Igo, Manhattan Strategy Group, to begin the presentation.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, great. And you can see the screen all good?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So thanks so much for having me, everyone. Welcome. My name is Dina Igo. I am the Business Development and Marketing Lead on a Department of Labor industry intermediary contract that is basically helping to grow and expand register apprenticeships in the area of supply chain and advanced manufacturing. And today I kind of want to walk you through a few things. I want to talk a little bit about, the benefits of the general benefits of registered apprenticeships, and then what we are specifically doing to grow, scale, expand them in the area of supply chain manufacturing. And then there are, quite a few others that are also doing the same work in many other industry sectors. And we will definitely have these available for you, I think, after the session. So first and foremost, what is registered apprenticeship, and why is it something that we want to even talk about? It's really a proven workforce solution, and some of you may be familiar with it, some of you maybe not. But a registered apprenticeship is essentially an industry-driven, high-quality career pathway. And what's great about registered apprenticeship versus other training models is they include both competency-based instruction, which can be done in schools, it can be done in classrooms, or it can be done on the job. And there's a part that's on the job training. So it's an earn as you learn model, and it is approved by the Department of Labor. And it's really a way to upskill and prepare future workforce. Individuals also obtain paid work experience, they get classroom instruction, and at the end they come out with a nationally recognized portable credential. So there's 5 components to a registered apprenticeship program. You hear apprenticeship word, the word apprenticeship kind of thrown around a lot. Sometimes it's interchanged with internship, but a registered apprenticeship is definitely one that's got these 5 components. It's a paid job with competitive wages. There's always wage progression. So where you start as an apprentice is not where you end. If you start at minimum wage, then once you end your training, you're getting more than that. So in order to become a registered program, an employer has to show that they have this wage progression. There's obviously structured on-the-job training in the work setting. So you're doing this, on the job. You've got the classroom training piece that can be done either in the classroom, or it can actually be done also on the job, but in a different sort of setting than the on-the-job training piece where you're actually doing the work. This is really for your classroom training. And you have a mentor that's going to help you through the apprenticeship. The mentorship component is really important, especially in the setting of, advanced manufacturing supply chain, because you want to make sure everyone is safe and they're doing the right thing. And also they're the ones that are going to help you through the program. It can be rigorous, it can be, require time, and a mentor who knows what they're doing is really important to keep you in the training, and basically it does help with attrition. And then at the end, everybody comes out with an industry recognized portable credential, which is huge for the apprentice themselves. And then, of course, the company has a very upskilled, good worker that ends up staying for quite some time. So I do want to show you the slide about the return on investment of registered apprenticeships, some data that has been pulled from across the country. For every dollar that is spent on a registered apprentice by an employer, they typically, on average, they get $1.47 back. So it's great ROI for the employers. The completers earn, an average of $72,000 a year, which is a good salary. There is, benefits for every dollar invested by the government. There's $28 given out if it's a registered program. And I think the biggest one of these factors is that 92% of registered apprentices are employed upon completion of their apprenticeship. So either they stay at the employer where they did the training, most of them end up staying for at least a year on the job, which is great because especially in the fields of supply chain and transportation, logistics, advanced manufacturing, there's high turnover. And those that are in these programs, those apprentices that finish, really do end up staying and working for the company for quite a bit longer than most. And there's a really, big apprentice lifetime earning advantage of over $300,000. So there's a lot of benefit to having a registered apprenticeship program. So although I'm talking about specifically the supply chain area, they are registered apprenticeship programs in all high growth industries of the economy. So, they're used in healthcare, in cybersecurity, in IT, in biotech, transportation, construction, energy, telecom, you name it, and there's registered apprenticeship in that industry. So I just wanted to show you that slide to make sure that everyone sees that these programs are used, in every industry, really, that's high growth areas of the economy. So, what are the benefits to employers? So, of course, registered apprenticeship programs, they really help to create a diverse and highly skilled workforce. They improve productivity and profitability. Like I already said, there's an increase of staff loyalty and retention, which is a really big problem in some of these industries. It's a flexible training option because incumbents can be apprentices, new workers can be apprentices, and they can sort of, they can come into an apprenticeship for, competency-based program that can be 18 months or 2 years, or it can be time-based program that can go as long as 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot of flexibility now in apprenticeship. There's 3 different types. The competency-based ones are really definitely a lot more flexible, can be shorter, is not always. There's a hybrid model that sort of takes in time component and competencies that need to be shown. And then there's the sort of original type of apprenticeship, which is time-based, which means that students have to spend a certain amount of time in the program. So there's a lot more options now. It's a great recruitment tool for folks to, who are trying to get good employees and good workers, to let them know, hey, we've got a registered apprenticeship, so you're going to get upskilled and you can earn as you learn. Minimizes liability costs, especially for those that, work on the plant floor, and there's, obviously machines being involved, and, you want to make sure that people are safe. So there's always a safety piece to registered apprenticeship programs. And then employers are able to access federal and state resources. If your program is registered with Department of Labor, it opens up, a lot of different opportunities for more funding. So tax credits, employee tuition benefits, there's lots of grants out there that, through WIOA, through workforce development boards, that provide a lot of support and financial assistance to registered apprenticeship programs. So there's a lot of benefits to employers to be involved in these programs. And of course, the benefits to career seekers are also big. Again, you earn as you learn. You have a guaranteed wage increase, which is huge. You receive an industry recognized and nationally portable credential, or you get an academic credit towards a college degree, and you gain that sort of workforce relevant skills and experience under the guise of a mentor in the field of your choice. So you're getting, all the benefits of an apprenticeship, and then you can take them with you as you go build a career. So this is a really important slide, I wanted to show you the industry intermediaries working in the sphere. So, as you see, I highlighted Manhattan Strategy Group. That is my company. We have this intermediary contract for the supply chain automation industry, but there's many others, and you can see a list here, and it's also available on our website and also on the Department of Labor website, where you have all of the other contractors that are doing this work in other industries. And we do have a list with all their contact information. So you can see there's actually quite a few in IT. There's quite a few in advanced manufacturing. There's care economy, clean energy. They just added a couple of new intermediaries, one in early childhood education, one in cybersecurity, and one in telecom. So we keep adding more and more of these industry intermediaries that are really support and help registered apprenticeship programs across the country in many different industries. And it's no cost to the folks running the programs. We're just there to really support them, provide technical assistance. I almost call us kind of a guidance counselor, if you will, that's completely free of charge. So all folks have to do is just want to either stand up programs or scale programs that they already have. We call ourselves, in said our industry supply chain, and specifically supply chain automation, which does have a big overlap with advanced manufacturing. But really all it is just the flow of materials and goods across, the world. Supply chain has been a huge pain point for a lot of folks. Obviously, we know that since COVID, and this is a really important industry to upskill people in. So we're talking about, logistics, material handling, anything in warehousing, and the technology piece, the automation part is just really using technology to better all of these processes. So all of this to say that supply chain automation is a really big untapped market right now. We're at the right place at the right time to build up these training programs in specifically this area. There's a very long list of occupations that we're talking about working with, but I wanted to put down just a few of the main ones that we've been working with currently. So, starting point can be an automation technician, but there's many, many other occupations. So transportation, storage, distribution managers or, specialists, supply chain managers or specialists. So pretty much anyone from entry level up to manager, logistics folks, industrial machinery mechanics. We're talking about mechatronics, engineers, electricians, even water, wastewater plant operators are included. They're a big part of supply chain. Anybody in warehousing, and then, building trade. So CNC machinists, HVAC, iron workers, pipe fitters, plumbers, millwrights. There's so many occupations that are included in sort of the supply chain sector that do align, to supply chain and can really be supported by us as they get through their registered apprenticeship programs. Under each one of these occupations, there's probably another 15 or 20. So there's quite a few occupations that use us, and, there's many more that can. So a little bit about sort of the SCA Workforce Hub, so that Supply Chain Automation Workforce Hub. As I said, we're an industry intermediary. We are kind of a one-stop shop for helping to recruit and train these supply chain automation specialists. We work with employers. We work very closely with workforce organizations and community organizations, education institutions. We're sort of all in partner to help these programs grow and to really help individuals to upskill. We're focused on people, specifically people of color and veterans. There's definitely a lack of diversity in some of these programs, and our big push and our big goal is to get folks from underserved populations, and specifically people of color and veterans, into registered apprenticeship programs because they are such good career pathways. We do, a lot of different, we conduct outreach and education about, the benefits of RAPs. We have an incentive that's financial that I'll talk about after this. We assist in marketing, we assist in recruitment, we do a lot of career fairs. We travel around, talk to a lot of folks about, what we can do and sort of put a lot of different stakeholders together. Sometimes people are looking for, well, we want to do it. We have a training program, but we don't have all the pieces that are needed for the registered program. So we come in, we can do a crosswalk. You can see what's missing. We can connect them to, let's say, a school that's nearby. They can offer the related training instruction, which is the classroom part. We sort of trainer mentorship resources. We have someone on staff who deals specifically with DIA training for sponsors and employers, so they can come in and review affirmative action plans. They can look at policies and sort of tweak them and offer support there. And then, of course, we can help to identify additional money that's out there for registered apprenticeships. So last but not least, our 2023 incentive fund looks like this. It is now over because the year is basically almost coming to an end. We have about a month left, and we have tapped out this incentive fund for 2023. But we will everything will re-up in early 2024, and we do offer an incentive fund that comes with our sort of technical assistance work. We can offer, in 2023, we offered up to $1,000 per registered apprentice. And, if a sponsor applies and the applications gets approved, depending on the number of folks they have going through the program, new cohorts of apprentices that they currently have, we can help to offset some of the cost of training by offering up to $1,000 per apprentice. Those that are coming back to us that we've already worked with can qualify for up to $500 per new apprentice. And we cap it at $30,000 per sponsor per employer for each year, so that we can make this money last and help as many people as we can. So if a really small company comes in and they have about 10 apprentices or 5, they can receive up to $10,000 or $5,000. If we have a large company or union that wants to work with us and they have 300 apprentices, they can only receive up to $30,000. And it's a flexible fund. It's not a grant. It's a direct distribution of funding that we're able to provide from our contract. And it can cover a lot of different things: tuition, curriculum development, equipment, mentorship training. Really pretty much can cover anything that's related to the apprentice and their success in the program. The only thing that this fund can't be used for is to pay direct wages. That is on the employer to do for the apprentice. So we can't pay salaries out of our fund, but anything else that's related to bettering the program, to improving the program, to getting more people into the program, this money can be used for. The application period is rolling. Like you can see, it's over for 2023. However, we'll start everything again in early 2024. So I like to share this so that folks know that not only do we provide technical assistance as an intermediary, but we also have some funding available that people can braid with other funds that they have or use on their own. We have a great website and an email address right here. And I know that this was loaded into the app, the conference app. So please feel free to follow us on social media, to email me if you have any questions. This email I monitor, so it goes directly to me. And then, join our newsletter, because we do put out a lot of good information about apprenticeship, about what we have done, and profile a lot of our sponsors. So I think I'm going to stop sharing and, open it up for questions, and see, if anybody has any, comments or questions that, we can have a discussion.
I can start things off. Dina, are those incentive funds available through all of the industry and intermediaries that you listed, or is that specific to the supply chain?
So that's a great question. Everyone sort of runs their intermediary differently. I know that I can only speak to really our funding. I know that others have funding as well, but the way they structure it could be different. So to answer your question, yes, intermediaries get, as part of our DOL contracts, funding, but how it's spent and how much people have left, and what sort of the amounts and things like that definitely varies. But I can definitely say that, our funding is very, it's available to everyone who comes in and wants our support and help. And, they're really trying to spread it out as far as we can, because it is a finite amount, and it is first come, first serve. So once the fund is out for the year, like it is right now, we got to wait till next year. The other thing I would say is that the funding can go to incumbent workers or new workers. It is not, and it's nationwide. So we are a national organization national contractor. We work with every state. We work with small, medium, large employers, and union, non-union. So basically, there's really anyone who is interested in registered apprenticeship can get our help.
Hi, this is Shahida Brown from National Disability Institute.
Hi.
I thought this was a great presentation. I am curious though, I saw that the sponsors are able to, there's like certain line items for funding. Is accommodations a part of that in
Yes.
regards to people with disabilities? Just
That's
wanted to hear a little bit
question.
more.
Absolutely. We actually have one sponsor last year, and I think one this year, that used the funding to purchase hearing impaired equipment, and we were very happy to work with them to be able to do that. So the answer is a big resounding yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hi, this is Sarah from the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition. One of the questions I have is, do you require that employers who partner with you, like how, when you disseminate the funding, how does that work? Is it a reimbursement basis?
No. Yeah, that's a good question. So it's basically a short application that they submit to us. Usually what we do is if someone's interested in working with us, we have a conversation, we do kind of an intro call, talk about all of the things that I talked to you guys about today, do some specific talking to them about their program, what they have, what their pain points are, what are they looking for, so we can understand sort of a needs analysis, if you will. And if they're interested in the funding, which I would say most people are, but not everyone, some folks are already getting money from certain areas and they can't braid any money together, we can still offer technical assistance. The funding is completely separate from the other piece of the work that we do, but most 99% do want, the funding as well. They apply. We have like a 4 or 5 page application where we try and just understand, how many folks you have in the program, what are you going to use the money for? What's your sustainability plan for your program? We review everything internally, and let's say we approve the application, then we sort of email them with next steps, which includes them giving us all of their registered apprenticeship. So the apprentice's information. We don't collect any personal information, but we need their apprentice numbers, which is what they put into the Department of Labor system, and if they self-identify their demographic background. So all that is to say is we need to see that the program has people in it before we give it any money. This money is supposed to go by, it is really there for the apprentices. It is not there to develop a program or hire people to build out a program. In order to receive the funding, they already have to have people in the program or going to have people in the program. So they give us a list of everyone with their numbers. We see how many they have, and that's the amount that they apply for. And then, if they give us everything, financial information we need to collect in order to do a distribution of funds. Everything sort of takes about 30 to 45 days from the time that they get approved. And then, the money gets distributed directly to the sponsor. It's whoever is running the program. If the sponsor of the program decides they want the money to go directly to their employer partners, that's okay too, but that's something that we need to figure out together. So it's either the sponsors of the program or the employers that can qualify, but not both.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure. That's a good question. Any other questions?
As far as the technical assistance you all provide, do you help actually register a program, like from start to finish, register and provide all of that kind of assistance?
We do. A big part of what the intermediaries do is they really try to create new, right? So it's either new cohorts of apprentices that weren't there before, or new programs, or even adding occupations to existing programs. So right now, I would say we have about 17 programs we're working with to register their standards, which means, kind of looking through all their paperwork, making sure, that they've got the wage progression, the competency list, that they're, that all the pieces are in place. A lot of the time we'll review the paperwork, we'll connect them to the person in their state, if it's a state level program, that's sort of going to be the one working on their application. They call them ATRs, apprenticeship training providers. Pretty much every state has them if there's an apprenticeship office. And we broker that relationship too, to make sure that everyone's talking to each other. And then, so yes, we sort of act as a supporter for them, and we are helping a lot of programs register, small, medium, and even some of the large ones, and that, are having trouble potentially. We also have modified programs. There's sometimes a program may have had government funding or grant funding that sort of had been, registered, but there's no people in it, and they want to kind of get folks to recruit people into it. And potentially the funding had run out. Now they're kind of sitting on this, program, but there's no one using it. And we can come in and say, okay, so should we modify it? Is it too expensive? Is it just too long? Why aren't folks taking advantage? Is there no demand for this occupation anymore? So we sort of do that type of work as well, sort of figuring out how we can help these programs that don't have people in them, registering new programs. Sometimes there's an employer that's been doing very well with an occupation and they want to add another occupation. That's a whole process in itself. We can work with them to do that. So yes, we absolutely, that's a big part of what we do, is we help register new programs.
And as you help new programs register, do you also have like templates for standards and competencies and things that you can give?
We do, yes. Actually, Department of Labor has done a very good job of having all of this available for folks on the apprenticeship.gov website. Here, I'll put it in the chat. And they, what's great about what they've done is you can actually look up by occupation what's available and look at specific programs. Everybody who's been registered in that occupation, you can look up. There's an occupation finder under their resources page where you can see who is doing this work, who is offering the related training instruction, and actually look at work process samples, wage progression documents, things like that. If anyone's looking to stand up a new program, but the occupation is already registered with the Department of Labor, which most of the time it is, you can even see it's already out there. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. As long as 80% of the programmatic pieces are the same, you can basically, kind of tack onto an existing occupation. So absolutely, all of those resources are there and, can help you guys walk through that. But I would say DOL has done a really good job of sort of sorting all of that information. You can also see who's already registered. You can look up by state, by region, by occupation. All of that data is out there for everyone to, to be able to access. I'm also going to put in the chat our resources from our website. This is just, our kind of technical assistance menu, more information on the incentive fund where you can kind of read a little bit more about the FAQs. And then we also have on the right-hand side some great Department of Labor resources. One of them being that intermediary list that I showed, but it has everyone's contact information. So this is a really good, sort of resource list for anyone who's interested in either reaching out to anyone on that list or, looking to see what we have available. I just put it in the chat for everybody. Any other questions? I'm actually going to also include this link here where you guys can play around with the different occupations that are apprenticeable so that you can see and can look up some things on there. But, we're obviously happy to walk people through this too, because I know it can be a little daunting sometimes.
Dina, there's a question in the chat. How do you define work-based learning?
Let's see. Oh, sure. In terms of what registered apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah, so work-based learning can mean so many different things. So we do want to make sure that people understand that not every internship and not every apprenticeship is a registered apprenticeship. That's why I kind of went through sort of the different pieces of a wrap, which is like a definitely more not necessarily, rigorous training program, but that's also what makes it, very quality. So work-based learning can be a lot of things. It's really just learning on the job. So, that's the simple definition of work-based learning. For a registered program, you have to have those two really key components. You have to have instructional learning. So, what that means, that's, schooling that's, provided by, it's in classroom and then on the job. So that's what sets registered apprenticeship apart from other work-based learning models and internships and things like that. And you have to have a certain number of hours, for each of those. For instance, you have to have at least 144 hours of related technical instruction to make it a registered apprenticeship. That means, schooling, and you have to have up to 2,000 hours of on-the-job training. So that could look like many different things, but, registered apprenticeship programs are going to run you at least a year long, if not longer. So we're talking about longer term, training programs, not just, micro credentialing and things like that. Is there anyone on the call who is doing a registered apprenticeship or has any connection to a registered apprenticeship program, who maybe want to share their experience?
Are there any currently hot in demand occupations that you're seeing becoming apprenticed in this space?
Yes. So one of the big things right now is electrical vehicle charging stations. So a lot of our electrical sponsors, those folks working with electrical apprenticeships, are looking to expand into these EV occupations that are new. There's a lot of money from government and from, from different places coming down the pipe to have, more electrical vehicle charging stations across the country. I think they have to be 30,000 miles apart. There has to have one, and registered apprentices or journeymen have to basically be, trained to run them. So there's a lot of, need and upcoming need and a lot of resources, money in sort of upskilling people to do that kind of work. So we're working closely with some, clean energy companies and just other energy companies and, independent electrical contractors and all different sort of organizations that have a stake sort of in developing electrical vehicle charging stations and other products. And those are brand new occupations. They may have some pieces of others, but that's sort of been a lot of conversation surrounding EV and kind of what's going on in that sphere. Cybersecurity is another one, that's come up strong, and there's a lot in that. And actually early childhood education and, upskilling and, training early childhood care providers, that's really 0 to 5, kids who are before, not really talking about K through 12 education, but really the early childhood education folks. There's a lot of work being done right now, and a lot of that's a new one that's just been funded. They're really trying to get a systemized way of training these people, and a registered apprenticeship is one way of doing that. So I would say those 3 are the biggest ones right now. Healthcare has been always a huge apprenticeship industry, and it still is. So that's another one that's always been big.
I think Miriam might be raising their hand.
Yes. Hi,
Miriam?
my name is Miriam Adams. I'm from Employee Prince George's. I just wanted to just kind of piggyback off of the question that you just answered in regards to the top 3. Can you go over the top 3 in your opinion that you think are important for healthcare as well?
So I don't know about the healthcare industry, to be honest. You could totally reach out to the intermediary that's for healthcare. I just know that healthcare is one area where apprenticeship is really widely used, but I don't know specifics about, which occupations within healthcare are really utilizing the training programs. I think nursing is one, but I think best thing to do, so I don't give you wrong information, is just reach out to the intermediary for healthcare, and they can give you a ton of information.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I think there may have been some time differences between those attending the in-person webinar or conference versus just attending virtually. So some people joined late.
Oh, okay.
Two questions I think you've kind of covered, but if you could just quickly review. One is, how do employers register for an apprenticeship, and what kind of support you can give for that? And then 2, how do they find their industry intermediary?
Okay, so the industry intermediary list is available on the DL website, but to make things easier for you guys, I put it right in the chat. If you go to the link that I put here, scworkforcehub.com/resources, on the right-hand side, you'll see the 2023 intermediaries. Click on that list, and the second page, the first page kind of tells you what the intermediary does. Second page has a list of everybody, the project managers with their contact information. That's right in the chat, that very sort of second link I think I provided. The other question was, how do companies register? So it's really a matter of figuring out, what pieces you already have and where you need help with. We can absolutely assist you with the registration, but we can't run a program for an employer. What they need to do is if you go to apprenticeship.gov and you fill out kind of a survey as to your current training model, what you have, it'll sort of give you a list of things that need to be done. And there's also a standards builder document where it goes exactly with what you need to do to build your apprenticeship standards. And standards is the word that DOL uses for program, how to build out your program, have all the right pieces. So there's a lot of information and resources on how to start. First and foremost, you need to figure out what occupation you want to apprentice. What's the occupation, and then look up that occupation and see what's already available. There's a very sort of simple step-by-step process that's I'm happy to go over with you, but also available on the website, apprenticeship.gov. And once you see that you've got most of the pieces, perhaps not everything, then you can kind of cross-reference what's missing and then see how it can help you, put together or pull what you need. And then once you have the packet and you think you've got everything and you're working with that person in the state, which is the apprenticeship training provider, we can also help people connect to those folks. Then you apply, you submit your application, they review it, and hopefully it gets approved, and then they give you a registration number within their system. Once the program is registered, you sort of get a certificate of registration with the Rapids. Rapids is this DOL system that they use for registered apprenticeship. And your program will have a number. And then, the next thing would be to enroll in the program. So it can be incumbent workers, and it can be new folks. But that's sort of the next step. But the first thing you have to do is actually register the training program with the government. And there's state by state regulations that vary. Certain states go by the way the federal government does it, and certain states go by the state apprenticeship offices. So there's slight variance in the way that they do things, but it typically takes, I would say, depends on how ready you are, about 90 days to get a program approved by the government. It just totally depends on, if you've got everything in place, if everything is proper, they may come back and say, hey, we have questions on this piece, or you're missing this. And that's kind of where we come in and can sort of sort out, why is the registration taking, too long. But it can, it shouldn't take too long if you sort of follow the rules and have all of the different pieces in place. Sure, you can send an email to me. I think the email was right on the last slide. That's our email address. I can put it in the chat as well. If you want to, is that what you want me to do? I can add it. It's just, okay. Here's the email. You guys feel free to email me any questions. Let me put it in the chat. Are there special incentives for RAP programs that go through the process to register with the government? Well, yes, and I went through that. There are definitely financial incentives, state level ones, tax credits. We have an incentive fund that I talked a lot about during the presentation. There's VO funding. There's a lot of, yes. So there are incentives available for those programs that decide to become a registered apprenticeship. It depends on what state you're in, what you're doing. And, the intermediaries have an incentive fund themselves. And I talked a little bit about that, but it's also in the presentation, that they can help to offset the cost of training for apprentices.
Great. I've been warned that this will shut off at 2:30, so just wanted to thank everybody for showing up. Thank you, Dina, for all the wonderful information. Email has been shared in the chat to reach out. The slides should be available to everyone after the presentation. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me.